Welcome to the Competitive 40k podcast, brought to you by Vanguard Tactics. This is the Warhammer 40k podcast where we analyse the meta, develop strategies to help you become a competitive 40k gamer. I'm your host, Stephen Box, and it's my mission to raise the standard of the game, both on and off the tabletop. So guys, it's episode 12, and today we have a very special episode, because we're going to be reviewing Saga of the Beast, but from the Space Wolf perspective. So on episode 11, myself, Jack, and also Chris Webb sat down and we went over the orc side. So now we're going to be looking at the boys with the claws. And today I've got two different guests on. One in particular is a veteran Space Wolf player, and then the other player, Ben Jones. How you doing, Ben?
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, doing well, mate. So Ben is considering using some Space Wolves, so he's sort of in the list creation stage. But our veteran tonight, from Russ himself,
Fenris is the place you're thinking of.
That's the one. You know, there he is. Look, just putting my lore knowledge to shame already. Mark Reed, how you doing, Mark?
I'm fine and dandy, and what a pleasure it is to be on this podcast first and foremost, talking to you two, secondly, and third and finally, talking about Space Wolves because they've got new rules. This is a great day for all of us.
And are you more excited about Space Wolves than you are Iron Hands?
Oh, without shadow of a doubt. Iron who?
Iron who, exactly. So Mark, you are the veteran, so we're going to flip this podcast on its head tonight. I'm going to interview you. You up for it?
Certainly am.
You prepared?
Totally. I've got 3 sheets of A4 in front of me. Usually I just bring a postage stamp worth of notes. This is how seriously I've taken this topic.
Right, well, should be good then, guys. Listen up. So today on the show, we're going to be discovering not only what's new, because you know, I think a lot of podcasts have already done that already, but as you know, with Vanguard Tactics, we want to go that little bit deeper. We want to help you find the competitive combos, or as I've been apparently on the YouTube, people are always waiting for me to say the crazy combos. So, they're going to be what we're going to be covering today. We're going to be looking at some of their strongest units, and then also I've twisted Mark's arm, and not only is there going to be a list for you guys to download, which is going to be available on the show notes, which is www.vanguardtactics.com/blog/EP12, where you can get our Space Wolf list. But for those on the mentorship program, next week we're going to be running a Vanguard Tactics masterclass all about Space Wolves, and Mark is going to go through things like deployment, how he would, handle different matchups, and ultimately really go to that kind of next level tactics in terms of how the army works on the table. So we're going to give you the theory today, and then on that masterclass, which will be invitation only, it will be on Zoom, so you also get your chance to watch and then also ask your own questions after, and that's going to be for everyone on the mentorship program, and all the links to that are obviously on the website anyway. So you still up for that, Mark? Yeah?
Absolutely, yeah, looking forward to it.
Oh, good. Otherwise I would have just said a load of stuff and it would have been wrong. So, yeah, anyway, good. Right, Mark, Space Wolves, why Space Wolves, mate?
Okay, let's begin with my origin story. It'll be quick, don't worry.
Everyone's there like,
oh. Shall I go make a brew while he's talking? No, yeah. You're all right. I actually played first edition Warhammer, believe it or not. I was about 12 at the time, and I used cardboard
back
counters.
Some time in it.
It is, and my first army, and my first love was Blood Angels, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do have intention about putting some sort of Blood Angel list together. Not something horrible like yours, but more, much fluffier, much nicer.
Yes.
Spend some time painting some nice models up, that sort of thing. And then I think we've talked about this previously. There's a few of us that had played before. I don't think Ben's taken a break, but I don't think Jack and Dan had either. But you and I certainly, and Emil at the time, certainly had played in our youth and then sort of came back to Warhammer a few years back. I originally got back into it because I started reading the Black Library novels, and I started with Ragnar's story, which is it's 6 books, I think 5 of which were written by a guy named William King, and they are some of the best pieces of fiction I've ever read, and I literally couldn't put them down remember spending evenings after evenings sort of sat in the garden through the summer, sort of engrossed in these texts, and thoroughly enjoying the story and the flavour of the Space Wolves and Ragnar himself on his pursuit around the various galaxies and stuff like that. And really, that was what got me back onto buying some models again. And playing the game, and I bought some models just to paint, just because I enjoyed painting. And from there, we started to get back into it ourselves as a group, and then we started to put various armies on the table. We've talked about it in previous episodes of how uncompetitive our lists or our play was, or how slow I was in particular has been mentioned previously. And I think I've probably read every single Black Library book about the Space Wolves, both Heresy and 40k. Let's say I must have read 90% of them, and there's some really good fiction in there. So I do have a deep love for them from that side of things. They're always good in the fluff. The lore side of things is superb. They're well represented in the Black Library novels. They've got some great models as well, from an aesthetic perspective. And but what they've suffered from since the time I've been back playing Warhammer is that they've not been that potent on the table. They've not been that competitive. So I've got quite a collection of Space Wolves, which I'm currently adding to at the moment, especially with this new book coming out. And I'm going to run people through a couple of the units if you've never seen Space Wolves before, if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, and I think I just want to pick up on something. Your first army getting back into 8th edition was Space Wolves.
Yeah.
And you didn't have any success with them in the beginning stages, did you?
No, not at all. I mean, we had a small group. We were playing just at the end of 7th, I think. And we were in a small community. We weren't going to tournaments or things like that in 7th edition. I think you went to I remember accompanying you to a tournament where we met Lawrence from Competitive Tactics for the first time, playing his Grey Knights.
Yeah.
And you were playing Eldar at the time. But yes, it was much more about fun than winning games, at that point.
So you mentioned something there about them not being very competitive, right?
Yep.
But do you think also, now you've started to look at them again prior to Saga of the Beast, do you feel like maybe you weren't doing them justice as well? Maybe that's an element of it, which I think we could also explore, because you've had some really good success with them recently, haven't you? And that was pre-Saga of the Beast.
Yeah, I have, and I think you're absolutely right there. So when I came back to them, which was a couple of months ago, before this book was coming out, I said to you guys, I said, I think that I feel like I'm a much better player. I can play them much better, having gone off and played various different factions, from Eldari, Drakari in particular, Iron Hands, White Scars, Custodes as well, and tried all those different factions and tactics, if you like. I've come back at it, what I think to be a much better player. And
also, you've had a much more optimized list, right? Because I remember we did that little tournament, just us lot, and you had I got this squad of Wolf, and one's got a plasma gun, one's got a rocket launcher, one's got this. Then you had a tank, then you had a 3-man unit of Wolfen, but now Wolf Cav. But now you've got a much more optimized list, because your knowledge of the game since, when was that, 3 years ago, has come on dramatically. So with a lot more optimized list, I actually think now the Space Wolves are going to be an absolute potent force, because I think seeing your results recently has shown light that actually there is something there in the Space Wolf book, but they weren't the obvious OP overpower that some of the other books have sort of overshone of late, potentially. Now also with the upgrade to the ITC format as well, being a little bit more about board control, and melee armies having a bit more of a foothold, and also the standard of the tournament scene in terms of terrain has also gone up a notch, I would say. Companies now that are running events are a lot more, I would say, even over the last 18 months, there's been a lot more thought process behind the amount of terrain that they're using, line of sight blocking, enclosed ruins, or whatever it might be. So I think all those things in conjunction to one another, I think the Space Wolves have been lying dormant And now with the Saga of Beast, we're going to see some crazy shenanigans being pulled off with the Space Wolves. So hopefully, Mark, you'll be leading the way, mate, leading the charge with them, perhaps some would say.
I certainly hope so. I think that there's a lot of different options in the book of different routes to go for different lists.
So,
and even if that just keeps you occupied with them, it's a faction that whenever all this is over with, I'm hoping to get back on the table and play for at least a year. I think you said recently about Blood Angels how you're really enjoying them, and you were saying I can see myself playing these for a year and really getting the most out of them.
Yeah.
Whereas previously, all of us, to a certain degree, have been guilty of jumping around to different factions to try and see. You and I had a conversation some time back, and I remember the conversation was about like painting standard, and we said there's never time to get a list or a set of models to the standard that you really desire, because you're on to the next thing and on to the next thing. Because credit to Games Workshop as well, the meta is changing constantly because of the new rules that are coming out, the FAQs, the
balance.
It doesn't stand still for very long. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So they are obviously Space Marines. Now they do have things like, what I would like you to touch on, Mark, is the units that are unique to the Space Wolves. Now, just to sort of fill in some of the blanks, you guys get what's known as obviously all the other Marines they call it a captain. So who's your version of a captain? This is just for the listeners to build up that sort of knowledge base of the word. So what is an equivalent of a captain? So somebody that gives reroll ones, who's a HQ option for you.
Wolf Lord.
A Wolf Lord. And then you get who's the equivalent of a lieutenant?
It's a battle leader, Wolf Guard battle leader.
Battle leader. So he gives you reroll ones to wound. Who's your equivalent of a librarian?
A rune priest.
A rune priest. And then who is the equivalent of a chaplain?
It's a wolf priest. But there's a slight difference there, because he is both a chaplain and an apothecary at the same time.
Okay, cool. Perfect. So that's your overall basic HQs, and then obviously you're going to get some named characters as well, no doubt, thrown in. And I think Ben wants to talk about one in particular later on. But obviously we'll sort of refer to these as Wolf Guard battle leaders or whatnot. So hopefully now you have a rough idea what they are. So what are some of the what's your core troop options?
You've got, if we don't talk about the Primaris for a second, you've got Grey Hunters and Blood Claws. So Grey Hunters are your TAC Marines, basically. I think there's a couple of more options for Grey Hunters than there is for Tactical Marines. The Blood Claws are something separate that I don't think are in any other army. They are like the raw recruits, if you like, and they're equipped with a chainsword and a bolt pistol. So I don't think there's another like Dark Angels or Blood Angels or even regular Marines get anything like that. No,
but they've got slightly worse leadership, haven't they? And then a slightly worse hits. Do they hit on fours in shooting?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, they do in shooting.
What about in combat?
No, it's still the same threes.
So actually, they're still toughness 4, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they still gain shock assault and everything like that now, and they still get a 3-up save. So they're not a scout, are they?
No.
And the scout, just to go off a slight tangent, scouts are elites in the Space Wolf army, in the Space Wolf Codex. They're not troops.
And I think this is where Space Wolves have been handicapped a lot, because they haven't had the access to decent troop choices like all the other Space Marine books. Obviously then until Primaris come out. So what other options for troops have you got now then?
So now we've got the same, and as of the Saga of the Beast book, where we've got all the Vanguard units, we have Intercessors.
Yep.
We have Incursors.
Yep.
Infiltrators.
Yep.
So all the Primaris goodness that the Space Marines have got are now available for Space Wolves as well.
Okay, cool. And then
so now Intercessors are supposed to be like Grey Hunter equivalents, but primaries. So very much like intercessors or a Tac Marine equivalent in an Ultramarine army.
Yeah. Okay. So, in terms of then your unique units that no one else gets, what are they?
So the Blood Claws are obviously one of them. I suppose it's like you said, it's like a bit of a replacement for a scout. Now, what's good about Blood Claws is that you can get them to a ton of attacks. So they actually only start with one attack each, I think, for a regular guy. But their special rule is they get a plus, an extra attack on the charge, and then they get shock assaults. They get another extra attack on the charge.
And they've got a chainsword for another one.
There you go. I think that before Saga of the Beast came out, I managed to get them to about, for 15, I managed to get them to, I think it was 60 attacks for 15. Not that difficult.
What's the maximum unit size?
15.
Right, okay.
I quite like the fact you can upgrade the leader to put him in Terminator armor, give him Storm Shield.
Yeah.
So you can tank a lot of the shots
on him, yeah.
On that single guy to stop them killing loads of your troops. Like got hit by like 4-4 shots or something. You can tank it all on a 3-up invuln, and also he takes all the small fire because he's got a 2-up save.
Yeah, nice. So that's one of your units, but I'm thinking a bit more juicier harding hitter units. Mark, come on.
Okay.
Give us the powerhouses.
We've got Thunderwolf Cavalry.
Okay. Unit size?
6.
Minimum 3, maximum 6.
Okay, and what are these guys armed with?
They, whatever you like. They're Wolf Guard. Wolf Guard are the Vanguard vets. So you can have storm shields, you can have thunder hammers, you can have bolters, you can have chainswords.
Okay.
Whatever you can think of from a melee perspective.
They can have it.
Yeah. And they're a bit faster, obviously, than regular troops because they're cavalry, and the mount gets to attack as well.
Okay, and they're toughness 5, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like a bike, I suppose.
3 wounds.
Yeah, 3 wounds.
3 wounds, yeah.
And obviously a 3-up save, and then with a 3-up invuln if you give them a storm shield. Okay, cool. So you can obviously go hard hit in thunderhammers or chaff clear in chainswords. Cool. What else have you got?
Wolfen.
Okay, tell us about these boys.
Wolfen are werewolves.
Okay.
Marines that have turned from the Canis Helix, from the lore, have turned a bit hairy. A bit like Michael J. Fox in Team Wolf, but bigger, a bit more angry. And they are pretty much a pure melee force.
So what's their max or minimum and maximum squad size?
Minimum 5, I believe, and maximum 10.
Yeah, okay.
Loadout for them.
Yep.
Thunderhammer Storm Shield is one of the loadouts. You can have Wolf Claws and Frost Claws as well.
Okay, Wolf Claws are just like regular attacks, aren't they? But then your Frost Claws are a bit more deadlier.
You can take axes as well if you want to.
Oh yeah, great axes, yeah.
Yeah, great axes, yeah. Cool. Now, what's so special about these boys?
So they've got an ability called Bounding Lope, which allows them to move, advance, and charge.
Nice, yeah.
What's
their movement?
7.
Okay, so a little bit quicker. Then they advance, potentially up to 6. And then they've obviously got that charge. So actually their threat range is pretty nice.
Yeah, like, 25 inches? That's if everything
goes
off. You roll 3 6s out of those 3 dice.
You probably would, Mark, knowing you, yep.
That's easy to do, boys.
And then they've got a ton of attacks, so you're looking at 4 attacks each on the charge.
Okay.
They've got some nice abilities as well, so they can re-roll a charge for free.
Yep.
Also, any units that are within 6 can also re-roll the charge. So if you put some Blood Claws next to it, or some Intercessors or something like that, it might just be Blood Claws. Actually, I've never used that very much. They can re.
I think it's for any unit, but if you're then within 12 inches, it also applies to Blood Claw. So I think it's a 6-inch or then a 12-inch if it's Blood Claws.
And they also have got a 5-up feel no pain,
Yep. Is they 1 or 2 wounds each?
2 wounds.
Excellent. Okay, toughness 4.
Yeah.
Toughness 4, strength 5 though. So you
Thunderhammer's a strength 10.
strength 10. Yes, you wounded more stuff on 3s or 2s.
5 up, feel no pain as well.
Yeah, but they've got one ability in particular which I think makes them absolutely game-breaking.
Death frenzy is what you're referring to, I believe.
This for me is one of the strongest components and things to think about in the game in terms of melee. And can you read it out for us?
So it says, roll a d6 each time a model in this unit loses a wound. On a roll of no, sorry, it's not death frenzy. Yeah, it is. The wound is not lost. If a model in this unit is slain in the fight phase, then once the enemy unit has finished making its attacks, you can attack with that model before removing it as a casualty, even if it has already attacked that phase.
So this isn't a single attack, is it?
No, it's all of them.
This is all of them. All of that. So even if you charge and you wipe the unit, they're still going to hit you back. So this makes it incredibly difficult to actually charge these guys, because normally what would happen is a combat armor. You're going to pick your fights in which you know you're going to win, because the idea is you go in, destroy that unit, and then they die before they get to attack, and then making it kind of pointless for your opponent to spend 2 CPs to interrupt the combat and fight elsewhere if there's a multi-combat. But in this instance, this throws in a whole different ballgame, because they're going to kill you. Regardless, so whatever you charge in, they're also going to kill you back. But you need to have enough swing to kill them, and obviously they got 2 wounds each, 10-man unit, so that's basically 20 maximum wounds you need to do if it's single damage, and then they're going to save 33% of those on their feel no pains, let alone on their 3-up invuns. So a horrific amount of attacks actually need to get through these boys, and then they're just going to wipe you out in return anyway, which I think makes this unit probably one of the most disgusting units there is in combat. They're just brutal.
Yeah, it's when you pile into all the things after you've killed a unit as well.
Yeah.
And then they hit you and kill you and you get to fight again.
Yeah.
It's mental.
There's one other rule as well, which is Curse of the Wolfen. You can make 1 additional attack for models in friendly Space Wolves infantry, biker and cavalry units that are within 6 of any unit with this ability when they make their attacks in the fight phase. The range of this ability is 12 inch for friendly Bloodclaw units, and Wolfen are not affected by their own ability.
Right, okay, so Bloodclaws get an additional attack, yeah?
Mm.
But you can
anybody can get
any unit
attack.
within 6.
Right.
As long as it's,
Bloodclaws within 12, yeah.
But can't you only pick one of the curses to use on a friendly unit? So you can't have the +1 attack and the reroll charges, am I right?
Yeah, that's right. So it goes on to say, Bloodclaws unit, Wolfen are not affected by this ability, nor are any units that made a charge in this turn whilst within range of Curse of the Wolfen, which Curse of the Wolfen, as we said, allows you to re-roll failed charge rolls for Space Wolf infantry, biker and cavalry units that are within 6 and 12 inches for Bloodclaws.
So you need to make sure, if you want the extra attack, that you started, as far as I'm understanding from the words you've just said, you need to start your charge outside of 6 of this unit and then end your charge within 6 of this unit to get the extra attack. So you need to choose if you want the reroll charges or the extra attacks, depending on your strategy and obviously your opponent you're about to face.
Yeah, basically, if you make your charge, you're going to take the extra attack, and if you don't, then you're going to take the reroll.
But does it specifically say about that weren't in range of the first one, or they didn't use it? Because if it's within range, if let's say you...
I understand it to be the way you said it, Steve. You've got to start outside of 6 and then end within 6.
No, you're right, actually. So it says here, Wolfen are not affected by this ability, nor are units that made a charge this turn whilst within range of the Curse of the Wolfen punt ability.
Exactly. So Bloodclaws actually then need to be further away, don't they?
They've got to be 13 away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it's actually quite tricky to get that off, and I can imagine that is played incorrectly a lot of the time. But there we go, look. That we've just ironed out the wordage for you. So again, we can be wrong at any time. Like we're not exactly rules writers, but this is obviously our interpretation. So just question it, and if you are unsure, get a TO obviously when you're at the tabletop. Okay, Mark, nice. So any other units you want to sort of touch on that? Because your version of Vanguard Vets, like you said, are Wolf Guard, aren't they?
And as Ben alluded to earlier, so one of the abilities that Space Wolves get is that basically your troop units can take, in addition to having a sergeant, basically a Vanguard Vet, which is a Wolf Guard unit, and that Wolf Guard unit you can put in Terminator armor. You can give him a Thunder Armor Storm Shield. You can buff him up however you want. And like Ben said, that's really useful from a competitive perspective to tank wounds on, or have extra combat ability. Yeah. Let's say, for instance, this may be a bad idea, a very bad idea, but let's say you take 15 Blood Claws and march them up the board. What you're trying to do is secure, 4 or 5 of them into combat, so you get a lot of attacks with chainswords, and then the sergeant and the Wolf Guard battle leader can take a melee weapon like a power fist, thunder hammer, that sort of thing, so you can do some damage when you get there.
So this isn't actually a sergeant like most people get. This is like a second sergeant, isn't it?
That's it. Yeah,
he's like an upgraded like a leader within there, battle leader within there.
Which I think
I've used it before in the past. Used it before in the past on things like Long Fangs, where you got your 4 las cannons at the back. I used it quite a bit in 7th, and you've got a guy with a 3+2+, sat there. He's sponging all the wounds and keeping your guns alive.
Yeah, or you can. I don't know if you can still do it, but if he can take a heavy, you can, if he's got Terminator armor, you can give him a Terminator heavy weapon, which you can. Yes, you can actually take a Cyclone missile launcher on him as well.
Or an assault cannon, yeah. You can do quite a few things with them.
So you could have 4 Long Fangs with any Long Fang.
I used to just keep him really cheap, just give him a shield and a power sword or a storm bolter, and he just stands there. He's not really going to do anything at the back. He literally is just there to sponge wounds.
Yeah. Okay, nice. All right. And then, so that's your... I think, is there anything else that we've missed?
Long Fangs, you spoke about there. Yeah. They're basically the Space Wolves version of Devastators.
Yeah.
There is a couple of extra rules, and I'm just going to find a page so that I can...
Well, I've got them here in front of me if you want me to go through it. One of them is called Fire Discipline, which means at the start of your shooting phase, you pick an enemy unit on the battlefield, you can reroll ones to hit against it. And also, I believe that you can take any Long Fang, which means any Long Fang can take a heavy weapon. So you can take obviously your 4. Yeah, okay. So your Long Wolf pack leader can't take a heavy weapon. So it means you could take 4 heavy weapons, and then you could take your Terminator with the twin missiles. So you could essentially have, like 4 missile launchers, and then the Terminator with the missiles on as well. So you can pack a little bit more heat in that unit than normal.
Yeah. So you're gonna do the same trick here. The sergeant can't take a heavy weapon. The Long Fang pack leader, he has to take a regular. I think it's give him a bolt gun or whatever. Yeah. You then put the Wolf Guard pack leader in with it. You give him the Terminator armor, give him a storm shield, give him a cyclone, whatever you want to do. Just try and make them a bit more survivable. And that fire discipline is a nice little touch, because you got at the start of each of your shooting phases, pick one enemy unit on the battlefield. You can re-roll hits of 1 for any models from this unit that target the enemy until you pick that phase. There's also stratagems, so I think you declare it. It's like 1 CP. It's either +1 to hit or +1 to wound. Yeah. Again, which is really nice. Obviously, you're likely to choose +1 to wound.
I think you've got re-roll hits and wounds, haven't you, for Long Fangs?
There's a few little tricks with them that you can do, and obviously from the book as well. There's a great stratagem in the book, which is you can reduce all modifiers, so you ignore all modifiers for 1 CP.
Yeah, that's nice. So you can move and shoot basically without penalties, which is good. I'm going to find their specific one. Okay, Mark. So that's the core units. Now, what's the Space Wolf overall ability?
Space Wolf overall ability is +1 to hit in melee. Also, the other ability is 6-inch heroic intervention for characters.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Yep. So really, then for me, there's two units. There's two units in particular that, or not two units, two archetypes that are really going to benefit most from this. And that is anything with, because of the litany that you guys get now, which is reroll misses in combat. Anything for me now with a Power Fist or a Thunderhammer is the way forward in life for Space Wolves. So that -1 you were getting is going to be completely negated with the litany. You then re-roll all 1s and 2s again, and that should be pretty consistent in terms of your hitting. Now, there's another thing here in terms of the heroic intervention, and this is what a lot of people miss, is that in my personal view here is any HQ option in the Space Wolf army has to have a jump pack, because of the fly keyword you can still jump over models in the charge phase, and heroic intervention allows you to jump over units whether it's friendly or enemy in the charge phase. A heroic intervention is no different, which means you can closely pack your units, because a lot of characters now are on like a 40mm base, which is over 2 inches, so you can't pass through friendly models. But then a jump pack character on a 32 can, because he can obviously jump over the jump pack. So what you don't want to happen is have this amazing ability, which is a 6-inch obviously consolidation, if you can never actually do it, because obviously you've got your troops in front of you. So I think, these jump packs are going to really lead the way.
I completely agree, and that's the way I've been running my HQs before Saga of the Beast came out. I've also got a nice little trick from the original book before you got to Saga of the Beast, which you could utilise. So if you situate a wolf priest, which were before Saga of the Beast was giving everybody reroll hits in combat, then you are charged. So if you've got a pack of Wolfen or Terminators or Bloodclaws or whatever, you can then jump over with your jump pack 6 inches, get into combat with that unit that's charged your unit, and then you give them the Armour of Russ. So the Armour of Russ is choose a unit within 1 inch of that character and choose that unit to fight last. So basically, you charge me, I heroic intervened, now I get to fight first.
Well, all your units do, don't they?
Yeah, but basically, yeah. So especially somebody did it to me recently, and they charged the Wolfen.
And this is a relic, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. It gives you a 4-up invulnerable save, and then any unit that you are within 1 of, you will choose that you can make it fight last.
Yep.
Great,
a bit like a little
combo.
Vexator mask.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
and that's why it has to be on a jump pack character, because the other great thing about characters that are sitting 6 inches behind the line is that basically when people are declaring charges, they'll probably forget to declare the characters because they're too far away, which means that when the character does jump over, he can't even be hit if he isn't declared as a charge, remember? So you don't even need to worry about interrupting him because he can't do that. And also, against another powerful combat army, and if you've gone for a more shooty approach to your, Space Wolves or whatever, don't know why you would, but anyway, if you have, heroic intervention is one of the best techniques to get out of a wrapping trap. So, and again, we go over this on the mentorship in a lot more detail with the video specifically on how you do this. As obviously I've just released one on YouTube about how to wrap and trap effectively with the Blood Angels. The principles apply to all units, obviously, but the heroic intervention is a great tool for those people that want to get out of it when you know how to use that appropriately. And this is another great way because you've got that 6-inch movement, which gives you a lot more freedom. So I think it's fantastic. Really, really good. Yeah.
It's a tasty combo. And it's surprising how many people it catches out.
Yeah.
Even if you say to people at the beginning of the game, "These are my rules," you don't have to say to them, "Here's my tactics, though. Here's what I'm going to do," because it's hard enough to get them up the board. But and people go, "Oh, I completely forgot about that. I didn't distance myself 6 inches away." You could tell your opponent to make sure that they didn't do it, so you didn't heroically intervene. But I think it's fair that I don't think you're doing anything morally wrong,
Well, no.
if you like, if you don't say to somebody, "I'm warning you, I'm going to do this." You know?
Yeah. I mean, heroic intervention is a standard rule in the game.
Yeah.
Is if they ask you at the start of the battle, okay, what does Space Wolves do, and you go, they get +1 to hit and they heroically intervene 6 inches for their characters. Cool. That's not. What's wrong is if somebody asks you that question and you don't say they get to heroically intervene within 6. Then you pull that move. Then because
that's
basically you fall into one of 3 categories. A, they don't ask you, and that's either because one of 2 reasons. A, they're experienced enough and they already know what Space Wolves do, so they don't need to be told. Or 2, they didn't even think to ask you, which is probably a bit of an inexperienced move on their part, which again comes with experience in, like, why in the mentorship we have like a list of questions I send to our students so that when they go to a game, they know exactly what questions to ask appropriately, because questioning at the pre-game is really important. So 1 or 2 options there. If they do ask you and you fail to mention the 6-inch for intervention, that's a bad sports move on your part, right? However, if you do say, look, I get +1 to hit and that, great. That's all you need to say. You've been clear, and it's up to them how they then play their game for the remaining turns, which I think is fair and above board.
I agree.
Otherwise, it's pointless having that ability, and it's pointless having that relic. So you've got to make use of these tools, right? Okay, cool. So what did Saga of the Beast bring you then?
Well, it brought the following things: a brand new Primaris Ragnar.
Okay.
New rules.
There's been a lot of hype about him. I'm not going to lie.
There's from somebody that has read those 6 books, as I stated at the beginning, they've given him some rules which actually represent the sort of character that he is in the Black Library fiction, which I'm really pleased about.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe on a competitive podcast that's the wrong thing to say, but it fills my heart with joy that he actually... I've wanted this for quite some time. It's a cracking new model as well. I absolutely love it. And he's got some great rules to go with it. So I couldn't be more happy with what has been delivered with Ragnar's new rules and the new model. I think it's great.
No, I think so. He's at a really affordable price as well. So he's definitely a competitive option. And yeah, I mean, like at the end of the day, yes, this is a more competitive themed podcast, but we're not win at all cost kind of players. We're... I enjoy hobby, I enjoy books and things, it's why I play this game and not any others. So, mate, I mean, the reason why we play this hobby is to make our lives happier and to get that enjoyment in the narrative side of, like, I really like named characters over, let's just say, a chapter master spending 2 CPs on him. For me, that doesn't feel as good as taking Calgar. So, I'm with you 100%, mate, and there's nothing wrong with, I think, admitting that. So, yeah. Okay, cool. So you got Ragnar, and he obviously got some pretty beefy upgrades, which we can probably touch on a bit later. But what else? What's the main stuff you got?
We got new rules for wolf priests. Okay. So wolf priests, as in chaplains. So we got access to the 6 Space Marine litanies.
Yep.
And we got our own sexy litany, a 7th litany.
Okay, and what's that 7th litany?
So, correct me if I'm wrong on the wording. In the fight phase, you can select it if this litany goes off in the fight phase. In the assault doctrine, you can choose a unit within 6, 1 unit within 6. That unit adds +1 damage to their melee weapons.
Yeah, a little bit wrong.
Go
on. So I'll read it out here. If this litany is inspiring, so remember you have to declare this at the time of the first battle round. or not the first battle round, but at the start of the battle round, you roll it to see if it goes off, obviously on a 3+ or more. You select one Space Wolf unit within 6, like you said. When this attack is made with a melee weapon, it's +1 damage against monsters or vehicles.
Oh, so got you.
But it's not just in the assault doctrine, so it's in all doctrines phases. So it's not just but it's basically +1 damage against monsters or vehicles in melee. Yeah, so it's good. It's nice.
It's not bad.
But it is select one friendly Space Wolves unit. You're right on that part.
I still think you're just going to use the charge one.
Yeah, obviously you get the normal +1 to hit, 5+ feel no pain against mortal wounds. You get the +1 to wound against close enemy visible. You get the buff up yourself in terms of Chaplain can beef himself up, or you get the +2 charge and the 6-inch pile in and the 6-inch consolidation, which the Canticle of Hate, which I think is, to be honest, like Ben said,
that's all you're going to use. You're not going to use anything else.
No. And the reason for this, in my opinion, is that there's a distinction here with your litanies. Half the litanies are select a unit within 6. If you're going second, there's no guarantee that the unit you just selected is still going to be there by the time it comes around to your turn. Problem number 1. Problem number 2, it only affects one unit. So even, sometimes you may change your mind, like halfway through your turn, a shooting phase may have went well or badly, and you might need to change your tactic for that turn. However, the Canticle of Hate is a 6-inch aura, which means at the point in which you're making charges, that's when you see who's within 6. And that's why, for me, it's so strong, as well as in terms of a litany concept, as well as obviously who doesn't want +2 charge anyway. And then it's also the pile-ins and the consolidations, isn't it, Ben? So you can make sure you get those wraps and traps off.
It's just, and like especially if you're using units like Wolf, and it's like you don't actually need a 4 damage hammer, because whatever they hit, vehicle or
they're going to kill
monster
anyway.
Wise, is just going to get annihilated. So you don't need a 4 damage hammer. A 3 damage hammer is plenty.
Yeah.
You'd rather be able to kill what you hit and then slam 6 inches into something else, let them try and kill you, and then kill them again.
Yep, absolutely. No, I completely agree. And again, this comes down to target priority. There could be arguments, but Power Fist, with a +1 damage, yeah, that could be good. But remember, it's start the battle round as well. So here's the difference as well. If you've got a unit of Terminators coming in, they'd have already missed it. So the litany's never going to affect them. However, the litany could affect them by the time it comes to their +2 charge, because that really initiates in the charge phase, although it's rolled at the start of the battle round. So that's why, again, it's just a much stronger concept of litany ability. Yeah. And when you are looking at your list builds, you always want to look for this stuff. So don't look for little tricks. Look for the most important, well-rounded, consistent, and repeatable thing that's going to give you reliable results.
So I've got a controversial opinion about this.
Okay.
I'm not sure it's better.
Okay.
Let me tell you why. So I will or have been running more than one Wolf Beast. I usually run at least 2.
Yeah.
They basically stick 1 with each pack of Wolfen, and then their previous ability was called Oath of War, which allowed any Space Wolf unit within 6 to reroll hits, which is killer on the Wolfen. Really is. So let's say you put 10 Wolfen into combat. You've got they also get shock assault, so Wolfen are getting 4 attacks each on the charge. They then get +1 to hit, so because they're Thunderhammers, they hit on 3s usually. Thunderhammers -1, so it's 4s, then +1, so you're back to 3s. So every 3's a hit, and then you'd re-roll the 1s and 2s, which then you got a stack of hits. You're then wounding on 2s or 3s usually, and if you've got a Lieutenant Wolfguard battle leader nearby, you're re-rolling 1s as well. And basically, anything you touch, you kill with the pack of 10 Wolf.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mark, but I think the fact that you can get +2 charge, it means you actually get there to fight.
Well, my experience is that here's the big thing about Space Wolves. So before we got this book, and even after this book, the difficult thing about them is getting them into combat. So you either do one of two things: you foot slog them up the board, and you get usually, a shot, and then whatever's left at the time that you get there, decides sort of like who wins the game. The second thing is bringing them on. There's no deep strike for Space Wolves apart from for Terminators or jump pack units. So things like Wolf and or Thunderwolf Cav, you've got to bring on from the side of the board, so within 6. So there was no way to get anything less than a 9. Now, you still can't do that with this chaplain unless he's on the board already.
Yeah, you start him on the board. You would anyway.
Yeah, he's always on the board to start with.
He's not gonna start off. He's gonna have a jump pack, and he's gonna move and advance to where you need him to be.
It might not be enough though. That's what my experience is saying to you guys. That it may not be close enough. You might have to screen him. It's difficult to do. That's the whole thing with this army. I mean, it's not easy.
There's it's the same principle as Blood Angels, right? All of my chaplains start on the board for that exact reason, and I'll get those 2-inch charges off, because what you're going to do, the only difference is I've got a bit more freedom if I do put anything in deep strike, but with you, because it's a board edge, you're never going to pick the back board edge because you're never going to get there, but the sideboard edges you can. So you only need to string your unit back so that, and obviously you only have to be within 6 within the board edge, so you're either going to pick the right hand side or the left hand side. Now, if you think about it, the chaplain's going to have a 12-inch base move plus a minimum 1-inch move. So he's got a 13-inch from the edge. So he only has to be then within an inch of a unit within 6. You only have to be 19 inches from a board edge, and you can make it in 1 turn. So actually, I think that is he can, if you're playing like Hammer and Anvil or whatever, as long as you're 19 inches away from your board edge, that pack of Wolf and a Wolf Cav are going to come in from that side, and that's okay.
Can you still put them on a bike or not? Can you still put the Wolf Priests on a bike?
No, they've gone to Legends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, hang on a minute. It doesn't even need to be that much, because you're going to get 19 inches. You're going to get another 6 inches because the aura is 6 inches wide, so you can add another 6 inches onto that. So actually your aura range is basically 25 inches, isn't it? Because the unit can be on within 6. You've got a 6-inch aura, so that's 12 inches, and then you've got a 13-inch move, so that's 25.
Oh yeah, you've got plenty of play with it.
Yeah, you've got 25 inches, Mark. You should better. Yeah, but I agree with you that the litany for reroll misses is incredible, which is why you're definitely taking that as well. But from terms of the conversation earlier about whether it was, again, it's another great concept of litany because it affects all units within 6. But you still have to roll for that now, so it doesn't just automatically go off.
And I never used a chaplain with my Space Marines when I've been using them recently, so you guys have got much more experience with me with this than I have. My question to you is there a rule that you can't re-roll it?
No.
Sorry, I'll reword that. Can you re-roll the inspiring to see if the litany is inspiring or not? With the CP.
You can.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So you've got 2 chances at it.
What you don't get access to though is the Faith and Fury beefed up chaplains and stuff, because Blood Angels don't get that access either.
No. I think what you do with it, because if he's got a jetpack, because you do it at the start of the phase anyway, if he was unlucky enough not to get it with a reroll, you just wait a turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just play cagey for a turn, hide again, and then do it again the next turn.
Or you can shift your focus, because then if you've got that 13-inch move, maybe you can switch to the other board edge and bring him on there if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's it. People can't play around that very easy to shut you off because you've got a lot of move.
Yeah.
Plus, you can use the. Oh no! Can you do it? No, you can't. No, don't worry.
Okay.
So, like I said to you guys, I'm not certain on it because unfortunately we haven't had a chance to play for what is now about a month, 5 weeks. So, without being able to play test, it's just a theory. I'm not certain it's better. What's been, I'm just. But it is what it is. We've got it, so we've got to use it. The +2 charge is awesome. It really is fantastic if it goes off. What we really wanted was a 3d6 charge. We wanted the similar rules to White Scars and or Blood Angels. But herein lies the issue. I think that the combat units in the Space Wolf army would be overpowered. I think it's on a bit of a knife edge. If you started dropping Wolfen in, deep striking Wolfen and giving them a 3d6 charge, I think it becomes too good, because I pretty much they kill whatever they touch.
That's what I mean. That's why I think the +2 charge one's so good, because you get the +3 consolidates as well. It's just like you're literally just moving halfway across the board if you make your charge.
You're only really taking that litany as well, not even just for the +2 charge, but now obviously, like you said, it's the extra consolidation of that 6 inches, which is massive. Like, that's why it's so powerful, is because it helps you get your wraps and traps off. It plus allows you to pile in and consolidate in touch units you shouldn't normally be able to touch. But also, if you did have a 3d6 inch stratagem, then you may as well just be Blood Angels. They may as well just get rid of. They may as well just call it Blood Wolves. And
hang on, Steve. This is heresy.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, you've got to have some differential stratagems and abilities between the factions. Yeah. Otherwise,
plus you've got like the same. Swarm Wolf, and you've got +2 charge, reroll charge.
Yeah,
you've got a lot of decent rules to now hopefully get you in.
Yeah, suck it up, Buttercup. You're fine.
Indeed, I'm sucking it right up. Don't get me wrong. I'm happy. But I'm just questioning it. I think that's what any intellectual individual would do in this situation, is just to take a look at a higher level and go, right, is this better? Like, what can we do? Because, I mean, fundamentally, what you can do is that you can put, let's say with a pack of Wolfen, a Wolf Lord with a jump pack that gives them reroll 1s. All right, so they don't get to reroll 2s, but they do get to reroll 1s. Well, that's still pretty good.
So also you get, let's move on, because otherwise I think we'll be there for a while, but then in terms of like your what Saga of the Beast obviously brought you Shock Assault, and now obviously you also then get, because I think you also get the other abilities like, Bolter Drill and all that stuff, but you also now get Combat Doctrines. So obviously you get the Devastator for a turn, you get the Tactical for maybe 1 or 2 turns, but you're going to be moving into that Assault Doctrine as quickly as you can, because your Super Doctrine, which is basically if you stay mono Space Wolves, is what?
Exploding 6s to hit.
So every 6 unmodified hit roll of a 6 you make counts as 2 hits rather than
certainly
1.
Does. Yep.
So it's I believe the same as the Black Templars. So I just think that's incredible, especially because you're putting out so many attacks in that, and again, like Space Wolves, like the Blood Angels, I only really start to use my army turn 3 normally, because I just sit and wait until my Assault Doctrine goes off, and then obviously you're staying in the Assault Doctrine anyway until the end of the game, so it's just fantastic. And getting those exploding 6s, which means even if you do just have a Wolf Lord, you'll still get enough. You'll roll as many 6s as you will 2s, unless you're me. But apart from that, then you should actually.
Well, the attacks you're going to get out of some units is just going to be ridiculous.
Well, it will be for you, mate. Yeah.
I think you can get Ragnar up to over sort of, if you have all the buffs go perfectly, get him up to about just over 20 attacks.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
I saw an article. I shout out to these guys. Great content on Goonhammer. And they do a math hammer section, and they basically said Ragnar with all his buffs one-shots a knight 99% of the time.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
You sound like not Ron Burgundy off Anchorman. What's it when he's talking about Black Panther?
The 1% Steve's for when you roll the dice, mate.
Oh yeah, don't trust me with the dice, boys. But yeah, he gets. I mean, we can touch on Ragnar and obviously some of the other things. So, right.
Sorry, Sex Panther is one of the HQs in this book, actually. Yeah. He one-shots a knight 60% of the time, every time, I think.
Yeah, 60% of the time. It works every time. Yeah. It doesn't even make sense. But anyway, so moving on from Anchorman, we've covered. I can't believe it. 50 minutes, Mark. I gave you a time frame. I knew this would happen. So, what else has?
I'm banned for the podcast after this,
Mark. I told you an hour, son. This is 54 minutes already. Right. Let's talk about what stratagems you got.
Okay.
You need to be quick. All right.
I'm going to give you the highlights. Okay.
Give us the top 10.
Okay. So, Duty Eternal, which is obviously a Space Marine one, but it's worded as still as half damage on dreadnoughts as
Yeah,
opposed
so that'll be
to
just -1 damage. That ain't going to be half.
No, yeah, and that's not one of the best stratagems, I don't think.
So -1 damage on dreadnoughts, that'll become when the FAQ comes out.
So what about this one? Countercharge. Any unit can perform a heroic intervention up to 6.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
it's the same as the Blood Angels one, which is incredible. So now your Wolfen can heroically intervene 6 inches for 1 CP, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool, what else?
Touch of the Wild, additional hits on a 4+ for characters unmodified 4, 5, or 6.
Yeah, that's not bad.
That's really good.
What else?
You
get
Gene Wrought Might.
You obviously get all the original Space Wolves Space Marine ones like Transhuman, which is incredible.
You've got Knowledge of the Foe, which is a free one. If you kill a character in the fight phase, you get a CP.
Yep, amazing.
Death Grip Bite. Teeth and Claws are damage 2 on Thunderwolf Cav.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. I like Vicious Executioners on the Wolf Guard.
Mortal Wounds on a 6.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
It is, yeah. So let's just quickly talk about that one, guys, because I think that's a key one. Because the list that I've written, which is going to be on the blog page, which I mentioned earlier, which is our website /blog/EP12, uses a unit of Wolfguard for this exact stratagem. Until the end of the phase, an attack made with that unit against an infantry unit and modified roll of a 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound. In addition to other damage, which I think is brilliant for just that 1 CP.
I think it can be amazing when you load them up correctly. So you get so many attacks.
Yeah, nice.
There's a few mortal wound strats in here. You've got Hammer of Wrath, which is a jump pack unit, finishes a charge roll, and it's on a 5+ mortal wounds for every model in the unit. I think that the Wolf Guard's got some play for mortal wounds. There's a mortal wounds one for the Thunderwolf Cav as well.
The thing is, though, Hammer of Wrath goes off on 5s. It was because all Blood Angels have this as well. But again, you're falling into a bit of a trap because you've only got 10 models, right? And you have to get within an inch for a start.
Going to get like 3 mortal wounds at best.
Yeah, if you're lucky. So you're going to take Overwatch, you might lose 1 or 2. So actually, by the time you actually get those models within 1 inch, you're only doing 2 to 3 mortal wounds. It was okay with the Death Company because I can take jump pack units up to 15. But yeah, it's just... Yeah,
the Thunderwolf Cav one's on a 2-up, which is quite interesting.
But you're only taking a 6-man unit though, aren't you?
Yeah, but if you're going into something tough, like, or, I don't know, like maybe a Death Watch unit where they've all got storm shields as well, and they say they're in like a line in front of the army, and you can touch them with all 6 bases, you're gonna,
6. It should be 6 mortal wounds, shouldn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think there's times where that one could actually be quite useful, interesting.
Yeah. Or it might stop your opponent from deploying that way because they don't want to take 6 mortal wounds to the face. So maybe they have to deploy a bit more. So because obviously one of the key, and this is what we'll go over in the mentorship, is like how you actually beat Space Wolves as well. But okay, cool. So any others that you want to quickly talk about in terms of stratagems?
No, I think you've got them.
Yeah, I think I think that's about it really. You're going to use them basically to buff characters up, buff characters up, buff units up. So here's the thing that was interesting that you stated about Blood Angels there, is that I think that I could be wrong about this, Steve, but the Blood Angels seem to be good out of the packet, whereas I think that what's going to happen with the good Space Wolves player is that you've got to know your foe. Like basically you have to understand your opponent, what units he's got, and you need to be very specific on selecting the right stratagems at the right time. And I think that's where the skill is going to come into it. 100%. I'm going to say to people, you need plenty of reps in, and you need a very detailed cheat sheet, if you like, that you're going to use at each stage for each unit.
Yeah, I wouldn't say Blood Angels play themselves out the packet for sure. Otherwise we'd see Blood Angels in every top tier competition, but we just don't. And in fact, a lot of the stratagems I use barely even come from any of the Blood Angel books. They just happen to be they come from the original one, which is fight twice. interrupt combat, because they're just the most, in my opinion, the most powerful for the army. And actually your Space Wolves have got a lot more built. Your Space Wolves are a lot more resilient than Blood Angels because they get built in 5+s. They get so look at your Wolfen. So let's compare Wolfen versus Sanguinary Guard. The Wolfen are a bit more expensive. They get a 3+ and runnable save rather than none. They also get a 2 wounds, which is equivalent. But you guys get a 5+ built-in Feel No Pain, whereas I have to stay within 6 inches of a banner to get that, which means my movement is much more dictated by my character placement. But then you are paying literally double the cost. But then
we've not got the 2-up armor save either, which is huge.
Yeah, you got a 3-up versus a 2-up. So against mass bolter fire, yeah, the Sangers are a little bit more durable. But in terms of the ability to tank anything that's, let's say, -1, or if it's a -1, my 2-ups are 3-up, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I agree.
And you're only going to be shooting anything with, you're not shooting las guns at Sanguinary Guard. So
I think they're a comparable army. I think the Blood Angels got a bit more mobility, but the Space Wolves probably a little bit more durable.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. So you obviously got the Obscuro Discipline, and then you got some extra relics as well, didn't you?
Sure did.
And there's one relic in there I really hope you talk about, because I think it is an incredible relic. So let's see if we come up with the same one.
Okay, so the first one I've got is the Mountain Breaker Helm. On a 2+, roll a dice after fighting, you get, and before you consolidate, you get D3 mortal wounds.
Sorry, read that again.
On a 2+, after you've fought, but before you consolidate, you get D3 mortal wounds. You don't take D3 mortal wounds. You give out D3 mortal wounds with a unit within 1 inch.
Right. Okay. But then, so then the next ability is if you destroy a character, you basically have your Deed of Legend being completed as well.
Yeah, if it's on your Warlord. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I don't know if I like that one.
I still like the 2 out of the original book the best, but
you're always taking the Armour of Rust, which means the unit's going to fight last.
And the Wolfenstone as well.
So what does the Wolfenstone do?
It gives you extra attacks.
Okay. So for me, this is the one that I like the most. And the reason why I like this one is because it saves you a lot of points. And it's called Morakai's Teeth Bolts. When you select a model with this relic, select one bolt weapon. So it could be a Stormbolter that model is armed with. When that model is chosen to shoot with, you can choose to fire this special bolt. If you do, you can only make 1 attack. Yep, that's fine. But if it hits, the target unit suffers 1 mortal wound, which, I mean, I'm not even fussed about the mortal wound, but this is what the bit I like. When resolving an attack against a unit that is marked by Morakai, whatever this is, you re-roll a wound roll of 1, which means you can go, right, what's your lieutenant equivalent? The Wolfguard Battle Leader.
That's the one. And
how many points is he?
Let's say 90.
About 80 to 90. So you're basically saying this is free 90 points back to your army.
Yeah.
Because
at the moment with how this is wrote, I think that relic's actually better if you soup the Space Wolves into a Admech or Imperial Guard gun line. And then their whole army's re-rolling once.
Yeah.
With how it's worded at the moment, they might change that.
Yeah.
But I think that gun's much better if you're playing mixed Space Wolves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can look, let's say, 24 inches ahead of your Wolfen unit, and your character can go, cool. Yeah, you can reroll 1s to wound against that unit. You've got wherever you want within 24 inches. Yeah, I just think that is amazing. And I think that's definitely one I'm taking.
No, agreed. I'm still taking Armour of Rust and Wolfenstone in the list I've wrote, but
yeah, I think
so. CP wise, sorry, Steve, go on.
Yeah, for me, I was just going to say it's definitely the Armour of Rust and then that Teeth Bolts. I just think that's just such a utility to have because again, it works in all the phases of the game, not just the assault phase, which I thought it was going to say, but it doesn't. It is any, like you said there, Ben. You could go right. My Rise of Destroyers now, cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Imagine that Rise of Destroyers wounding on 2s, rerolling 1s for whatever you pick.
Yeah, or Knights.
because you just put that relic on a Phobos guy with the 36-inch range
Yeah.
bolter.
Yep.
And then you just go, I'll just ping that over there, and now my whole army's going to reroll ones against it.
No, what you could do is take him, 3 units of infiltrators, and then another character that you want, maybe Ragnar, just for lols, and then put all that in with your 3 crusaders.
Yeah.
So your infiltrators zone out the knights, so they can't be touched by anything deep striking. You got so much combat anti-punch, and he just goes, right, cool. So you get the...
and Ragnar's just walking between 3 Knight Crusaders, and whatever comes in the middle, heroic.
Yeah.
Heroics,
exactly.
anyway.
Yeah. Soupage for days, and you can get those really cool converted Space Wolf Knights, can't you?
Yeah, you can actually. That'd be really cool.
Anyway, there we go. Look, that's a little cheeky... And I think that is what I love about that, it's a gimmick, however, it is affecting army-wide abilities at any point, which I just think is incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Should we have a couple more from the new sexy relic list?
Go on then. What else you got?
What's
Worm
Mark found?
Splitter. Model with power axe only. This relic replaces a power axe and has the following profile. Worm Splitter is strength +1, AP -2, damage 2. Abilities. When resolving an attack made with this weapon against a monster or vehicle, this weapon has a damage characteristic of 4 for that attack.
When you could put the litany on him and he's damage 5 now.
It's damage 5, not bad.
Yeah, lovely. Happy days. Yeah, I
And
mean...
then you in the Assault Doctrine, it's a -3 then instead of -2.
Yep. I mean, the thing is with these, like, I think all the books have got special little relic guns and you can mastercraft this and all that stuff. But I just think, in what I always say on my lives and stuff, because I'm going live every day while we're in lockdown on YouTube at 6 o'clock, and obviously feel free to come on over, have a chat, quiz me about anything, this stuff, have a debate with me. It's all good. But I just think it's all very selfish if you're taking these. I don't know. I don't like relics that only buff characters. I like relics that buff armies, and that's just me.
No, I'm the same. That's why I always take the Vexeter mask.
Yeah.
I don't take one. Unless it's a Psyker. I might take something on a Psyker that buffs just the Psyker to make it guaranteed powers.
Yeah, but then it's because your powers
are affecting my army. Yeah,
it's like no one's ever said, oh, they want to, I don't know, what's it like, something drill bit hole. All they want is really a shelf on the wall, don't they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it. I know. Yeah.
You're looking for the end result, which is the psychic power buffs your army.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, right, let's have a quick talk about.
I'm just gonna have the last one because this is my pick of them. I like this one. The Wolf Tail Talisman. When a psychic test is taken from an enemy model within 18 inches of a model from your army with this relic, subtract 2 from the result. With there being a lot of Grey Knights around, and also Space Wolves taking a lot of Storm Shield and that sort of thing, Smite can be a real killer. I think that one could help.
I think they'll outrange it if that's the only one you've got.
Yeah, most psychic powers will just go, because even now, like most top players will go, right, if you got a Psyker, yeah, cool, right, what's his deny range? 24, right, when I'm 24.1 inches away. So now it just means you're 18.1 inches away and you can still cast it. Because most smites now, remember, Mark, with the Grey Knights, the Brother Captain doubles smite range, so they have actually got a 24-inch smite range, not 18.
One of the things that they're trying to do, though, is that, they're moving the Gate of Infinity across the board, or moving across the board, that sort of thing. They're looking to drop in with the characters supporting, if possible, and then shoot you and then charge you as well. So maybe then it's a good thing because it limits people, it pushes them back.
Yeah.
It might have a bit of play.
I think they'll just take the -2 because they cast on 4s and 5s anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. I just don't. I think it's situationally good, but yeah, I mean, you might keep it in the locker to think, all right, well, maybe this is an army that's definitely going to be against Gene Stealer Cult. It might not be a bad idea because a lot of their powers want to switch off Overwatch. They want to do some nasty things with their psychic powers, which are of a shorter range, and the characters tend to be closer. Yeah, but obviously remember, like with Gate of Affinity, that happens they're normally at the back of the board, and by the time they've landed, they can be within 18, but it's already been cast by that point.
Yeah, true.
But again, it's situational. Like, if you want to stop that smite from getting rid of your wraps or whatever, or you know, like if Eldar, you manage to get wrap a unit of rangers or something with your Wolfen, and they've got like executioner they want to get off and smite and stuff, then a -2 might be the difference between them casting it or not, because you can.
But then your character's got to be in front of the Wolfen.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Because they're going to be on a bike with executioner that's got a 22-inch move. I don't think you're ever going to stop it.
It's just so situational. But again, unless your opponent forgets about it.
Yeah.
But you can't rely on that from happening, and you shouldn't really play. In my opinion, I don't think you should ever build around your opponent forgetting something.
No, I think that's a bad strategy.
But anyway, I mean, like, it's one to keep in the locker, and it's to have in the toolbox if you ever need it, I think. So, I think that's everything covered now, isn't it? And obviously you've got all the new Primaris goodness anyway, like war suits and stuff. So, do we want to go over quickly? Obviously, you can download my thoughts anyway, but maybe a couple of key combos. Ben, what are you going to be thinking about running?
I like the look of a 6-man unit of Thunderwolf Cav.
Okay. Explain.
Just keep them cheap, so a hammer on the sergeant. Everyone else got storm shields and chainswords. It's an incredibly fast unit, and it takes up a massive amount of the board. So unless they've got things that fly, when you space them 2 inches out apart with the massive bases, you're just zoning off big sections of the board.
Yep.
They're very good in combat. They've got a couple of nice new stratagems as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more the fact that you put this six Underwolf cavalry in front of their army.
Yep.
They've got to deal with it. And then they're toughness 5, so with transhuman, if you need it, they're incredibly hard to kill.
Yep.
The rest of your army can then just run up the board behind. Because if they don't kill those Thunderwolf cavalry, the next turn, they're going to be right in there.
Do you reckon there's playing 18 of them?
I think there could be.
Yeah.
If you maxed everything out, put Canius in there, and then you drop Arjak out the sky because they count as Wolf Guard.
Right.
He buffs their attacks as well. You could get. I don't know. I haven't got the book yet, but I don't know. I think because they've got the Wolf Guard keyword, they can use that one command point stratagem for the mortal wounds on the chainsword attacks as well.
I'll tell you what, I'll look that up for you now. But yeah. So what does Arjak do then for you?
Arjak gives them +1 attack.
And is he a captain?
Yeah.
No, he's not. He's a
character.
lieutenant.
Go on, Mark. So say that again.
He's a lieutenant, basically. So he gives the +1 to wound. It's not +1. Reroll ones to wound.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've got the keywords, mate. They've got cavalry, Wolf Guard, and Thunderwolf cavalry.
Yeah. So they can use it then.
And they've got 2 attack space.
Yeah. So he'll give them an extra 1. Then Canius gives the actual mounts extra attacks.
Right. Yep.
And then if you can get another guy with, say, like take a wolf priest with a jetpack, and then give him the Wolfenstone, you get another attack, and you just suddenly get these units that are incredibly hard to shift.
Yep.
They're tough, so they're pretty good. It's hard for the small, like lots of strength 4 fire doesn't do as much to them.
Yep.
I just think they're a really good unit. And then if you've got the wolf priest jumped in behind, who's giving them the 6-inch pile-ins as well, with those kind of big bases and stuff, like shooting armies. Once you get through this, they'll mulch the screen, and then once they can get in, their big bases are going to touch everything.
Yeah. So Canis gives you you can make 1 additional teeth and claw or crushing teeth and a claw tax. So he doesn't give extra attacks to the Wolf Guard though. Yeah,
no, he buffs the mounts, so they get extra attacks, and then Arjak and the Wolfenstone will buff the guys, the actual riders.
Right. Yep.
I think that's a pretty good combo.
You can use the stratagem then for the damage to teeth and claws.
Yes, if you needed to, you could.
So then that's a bit more powerful. And then you've got Arjak Rockfist with his +1 for the +1 attack for the Wolf Guard.
Yeah.
He's a Terminator character as well.
Just
so
who doesn't like Arjak as well, because he can just throw a Thunderhammer at someone. I mean,
it's quality.
just like the best.
It's let's be honest, he's Thor, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the best.
I think I would convert him up to look like Thor would, like he'd be flying, he'd have the hammer in his hand, with like a winged helmet.
Kind of like a combo I've been looking at. I was only looking at one, I haven't really looked at doing just like 18 Thunderwolves.
So your next order from Goblin Gaming then is 18 Thunderwolf Cav then, mate?
I've already got 6 here, and 3 are painted from. I've got an old Space Wolves army I used to play in 7th that's actually painted.
12 short of a picnic so far.
So I was only looking at 6, but 12 might be something. Another 12 might be something to have a go with.
You want to, mate. And I really like the look of bikes. Controversial, but you can take big old units of the bikes. They're cheap as chips. They put out a lot of, obviously, just regular DACA for screen clearing, because here's the difference that people always ask me with the Blood Angels, oh, Steve, how do you clear screens? I don't bother, I just jump over them, because I start my army generally on the table in most situations, or you can charge over units, so a screen's not really brutal, but move blocking, Space Wolves, you're in trouble, because your Thunderwolf Cav can get blocked by scouts.
Oh yeah, and they get blocked by buildings as well.
Which is why I think a cheap unit of bikes, which can then use the 2CP Skilled Rider stratagem, which is in the new Saga of the Wolf, which is use the stratagem in the movement phase, select a biker unit. If the unit moves, you get a 4+ invulnerable save, and if you advance, you get a 3+. So just moving that distance forward, getting that 4 up, you've now got Thunderwolf Cav with 3 up, you've got your bikes with a 4 up, you might have some Wolfen with a 3 up. Basically, everything's got an army-wide invuln save, and then you've always got the stratagem to cast -1 power once you've successfully can cast a psychic power. You can be -1 to hit as well within units within 6 of the bearer, so there's some, you could be -1 and everything's got a 3 up invuln. That's pretty durable for a turn.
Yeah, I think the durability is the key to that Thunderwolf Cav unit. You can't mass fire it with strength 4 because it's just, you're not going to get that many wounds through.
Yep. Yeah, nice. Mark, what's your top picks then?
I think that if you look at the way GW have shaped Space Wolves, they're all about assault. Every buff that you've got is assault based, from your super doctrine now. So you want to basically, I would say, playing Space Wolves, the best way to get the most enjoyment out of them is to pick those unique units that are special to them, and fire them up the board and get into combat. It's a bit. I think they're a bit of a finesse army. I don't think that they've got all the tricks straight out the gate. You've got to play them in, and you've got to learn how to win with them.
You've got to learn how to move. That's what you got to learn. A good Space Wolf player will learn how to move, they'll learn how to charge, they'll learn how to wrap and trap appropriately, they'll know their unit priority in terms of who they're going to attack with first, they're going to know their heroic intervention on point. That's where the Space Wolf player is going to show whether they can cut the mustard or not, I think.
And I think that's a lot more difficult to do than it is to get a shooting army and put it on the bottom of your board. And
I think you'll see a lot of Space Wolves lists with just like 5 or 6 decent characters, probably 5 characters like a Supreme, and then just loads of guard or something in the way of them. Yeah,
see, I just like I know this is the list you've been having some really good success with, Mark, but it's very Wolfen based, isn't it?
Yes, that was what my pick is. So I think that Wolfen have got to be in your list.
Yeah.
I love Wolfen.
I would suggest at the very, very least 1 pack of 10, if not 2 packs of 10.
Yeah.
And then it gives you room for
or 3
other units. three is possible.
Yeah.
I think that certainly in ITC they're a board control unit. I really like incursors for them.
Yeah.
Because they already get 6s as well. You can get a lot of attacks in there, especially in the Assault Doctrine. I think that you should be looking to own the middle of the board. And if you come up against an army that also wants to own the middle of the board, happy days. Let's have a fight, and whoever wins. I think that Space Wolves should be afraid of nobody, even Mortarion or Blood Angels, in the close combat arena.
I agree with that.
where you're going to struggle is if you come up across a shooting army that sits on the edge of the board, has got enough range to be able to shoot you, and there's not a lot of terrain. But like you said earlier in the podcast, and I think it's worth discussing this, or giving my view on it now, things have improved hugely with the amount of terrain at most places. So it's giving melee armies a chance, and it's hindering shooting armies a little bit. And I think that's exactly the way it should be. Try and level the playing field to a certain degree, because I think that shooting armies have had it all their way for quite amount of time, and I'm guilty of getting involved in that because I ran Iron Hands for several months. So
I think
took
you
advantage
smash
of it as
your
well.
Iron Hands list with your Space Wolf list, because even if you put it all in the back corner, you just wait till turn 3 and bring it all on at once. If they can't kill it in a turn, you just annihilate it.
Well, what I would do is I'd do exactly what Steve does to me when I was playing when he's Blood Angels against Iron Hands, where I sit in the corner and he says, "I'm just going to sit down behind this terrain because I'm going to win the game anyway." Yeah, all right, it's boring, but it's a win, certainly at a tournament. And if you want to, you've got to move. So it forces the Iron Hands player to come out of the castle and move up. And when you do, you go, "Oh, hello, let's have a fight." I'm going to take some pain going in, but once I'm in, I'm going to smash straight through you.
Yeah, agreed. No, I think there's some good tips, and it's all about, and again, you go a lot more in terms of the masterclass and how you're going to play this out, and what your strategy is going to be. So I don't want you to reveal too much. Right, guys, we're not going to take a break. We're going to whiz straight through because my dinner is ready very soon, but we've got some questions. So I'm going to read out. I asked these questions last Tuesday, so through the Instagram, and if you've got a question for the podcast, all you need to do is head over to Instagram and message us at the Vanguard Tactics when I put the post up every week on a Tuesday. Okay, so here are the question. Ben, this one's to you, mate. Is there a way to make Thousand Suns viable as a mono faction after Psychic Awakening? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely, I think so.
What's your top pick unit for them?
Top pick unit for them, block of 20 rubrics.
Yep, why?
That you can start 9 away with.
One?
And shoot them twice for 1 CP. I mean, it's an amazing unit.
Yeah, nice. So Michael said, keep crushing it. Content's awesome. Clarity Queen, hey, I love your content. Keep up the great work. Dolthars, I can't pronounce that name. Would you recommend using Remora stealth drones in a Farsight army? If so, how many? Ben, do you know those stealth drones?
Not off the top of my head. They might be the ones that heal suits.
Do you know what?
I know there's one that does that on Forge World, but
we'll get
I
Jack's
probably
opinion,
wouldn't bother.
I think, well, next time he's on.
Yeah. I'll just go more shield drones.
Okay, Mark, this one's question I'm going to give to you. What's your top tip for somebody? This is from Thomas. What would you recommend to someone who wants to chase the meta on a budget?
eBay.
Okay. What else?
It's difficult. I think it's expensive. Over years, I suppose that you can get built up a collection of units. Oh, the other tip is don't sell the armies that you've got. Try and keep hold of them.
Yeah.
You
talking to Joe there, by the way?
Yeah, this message going out to you, Joe. Don't sell entire armies that have been beautifully painted and then go, I've had enough of Marines, and then start another Marine army immediately after. Yeah, I suppose the thing is that what I would suggest is that we say this all the time as well, have some games with your mates and proxy everything. Just go,
buy it,
yeah, just go, okay, do I actually enjoy this, right? So this possessed bomb, I really fancy go at that. Such and such is running it. It looks great. I've got an idea how to do it. I'm going to spend £500, $500, whatever it is, on all the models, and then 3 months later I'll have them built and painted. And you go, I don't really enjoy this. It's not my playstyle.
Yeah. So
meet your mate down the club, proxy everything, have a go. Go, I actually like this. Build up what you can. Try and get some stuff cheap. Generally, one of the things you can do is ask within the local clubs that you're in, Facebook pages or whatever. Say, does anybody get anything to trade, or going cheap? People have got stuff.
Right.
That's a little,
I think you've covered that one pretty well. Also, my advice would be don't chase it and get good with your army. Playtest your own, and there are options in every single book to adapt to all the environments. Know your army inside out, and you'll get better with your own. Don't just look to buy the latest list, because you won't be good with it. It all comes with practice. Gary's Workshop has said, I'll answer this one. What do you think about the Deathwatch only getting an update via White Dwarf? There's been a lot of salty Deathwatch players, and I'll be honest, it's completely unwarranted. You don't have to buy a new £15 book. It's going to come in a £5 White Dwarf. The words that are written in a White Dwarf are just as powerful as words that are written in a Psychic Awakening. It all depends on how they're written, so it doesn't matter. And actually, you get it a little bit sooner, so I think it's actually a bonus that we get it in a White Dwarf magazine, not a Psychic Awakening. And plus, you can just rip out the pages and stick them in your army box, so it's less paperwork to carry. You can staple it into your Deathwatch codex. I think it's a win. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Harlequin one being the same.
Yeah.
It's one less book I got to carry when I play my mixed Elder army.
I'm going to cut those pages out and I'm sticking them in my codex, you know?
I've already cut up all my chapter proofs like you did.
Yeah.
Copied your idea. I just take the pages I need.
Yeah. So, best use for Alpha Legion, faction, abilities, warlord traits, relics for a gunline army. This is from B Thorn 16. I've already reviewed all the other Chaos from Faith and Fury on the lives, and I'll save that for, I might do that today actually, which will be day 20's live, alright? So day 20 on YouTube's live, I'll be talking about Alpha Legion, because I haven't covered that one yet. Then we've got, what else here? Red Moon is said, we've actually already answered this one last week, so that is actually, we have another question is here as well, from CF Minis, who, if you don't follow him, definitely go and check out. He's got some beautifully painted Necrons, but this is such a great point of content. I'm going to cover it. I'll tell you what, I'll cover this tomorrow on day 21 of the lives, because it's one we can really get stuck into. We might even save this for an entire new episode of a podcast, because it's a really good in-depth question about the movement phase, how to use it properly. So I think that leaves us a little bit more questions there to go into a little bit deeper, rather than just giving you a quick short sharp fire question or answer, should I say. But guys, thanks so much for joining. If you want our Space Wolves list, obviously you know where that is. If you want to jump on the VT Space Wolf Masterclass, and there's also going to be a Blood Angel one in the near future as well that I'm putting together, then all you need to do is head over onto the mentorship program. And at the moment, because it's coronavirus, there is a 2-week free trial, so you can see the content, you can take part in all the daily lessons that we have going on in our community group. You can join the Discord, you can join our training night that we have every Wednesday. So yeah, there's loads of stuff going on. You obviously get the first entire module 1, so you can see what the quality of the course is going to be like for the remaining 13 modules. But yeah, you can jump on that for 2-week free trial anyway, and then obviously if you don't like it, you can just let us know and depart ways, or if you love it, then brilliant, we want to keep you on board. And it isn't for everyone, I'll tell you that now. It's for those guys that really want to learn, really want to develop a like-minded community of friends that they can, chat to 40k about, and just feel that when they actually get into the table, they know their army inside out, they feel confident, and get that sort of respect that you kind of want from playing the game. So, and that's what it's all about for us over on the mentorship program. There are limited spaces. There's only a potential of 200 spots, and spaces at the moment are filling up very, very fast, aren't they, to say the least, I think, with people being sat around during this coronavirus. I don't think our community's ever been so big, has it, guys?
No, it's good.
And we've got people joining every day.
Yeah, 2 to 3 a day at the moment, isn't it?
And one of the things that I would share with everybody, which is so pleasant to get this feedback, is I've been asking people about their experience in the group and if we could do anything better. You've set up like a regime, if you like, so there's some content, a unique content every single day, 7 days a week. There's something for everybody to look forward to and get involved in, participating. And people have said one of the best things about it is the community, and that's fantastic to hear, because people are sharing ideas with each other, getting involved, getting on with each other and becoming better players and making friends and things like that. It's been absolutely wonderful. Yeah,
in a lot of the tasks that I've put together, with the help of Joe now as well, and in the graduates of the Vanguard Tactics mentorship program that were students now graduated, it's they're tasks that get you thinking. So they're actually tasks that we challenge you in a way that you're going to have to go through these thought processes when you come up against a matchup, and we literally give you critiques and feedback on how you did and all that good stuff. So it's kind of like playing a theory game where you've actually got somebody to give you some feedback and some critical evaluation of, you know, what your thought process is going into those matchups and stuff. So it really will test your, you know, test your stuff. So, but Mark, thanks for those comments. I really appreciate it. And Ben, thanks for jumping on the podcast as well.
No worries, mate.
And I'll see you guys on another week. So if you enjoy this podcast, please, you know, if you get the time, give us a quick review on iTunes, Spotify. And if you love it and would like to tell your friends about it, we would really appreciate that. It helps us spread our message and ultimately get a good vision out there and a good mindset for competitive play. It's not about winning at all costs. It's being, you know, the best general possible at the tabletop. And obviously, guys, we want to help you to get there and do that. So we'll see you next week on another episode of the Competitive 40k podcast. See you later.